there's a reason why. In fact, if you want a perfect example of what a divisional rivalry, a divisional matchup, a divisional game looks like, look no further than the Baltimore Ravens going into Pittsburgh and losing 18-16. On top of that, the Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Ravens without scoring a touchdown. The Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Ravens, and it was arguably Russell Wilson's worst game. Both teams are good. But one thing that I do know, and one thing that this game, if it teaches you anything, is actually there's a couple things that you can learn from this game. One of them is it's the little things. The little things, depending on the matchup, depending on the score, depending on the situation, the little things feel much, much larger. As great as Pittsburgh has been this year, and kudos to them for winning, I would say that the Baltimore Ravens beat themselves more than the Pittsburgh Steelers won this game. One thing that any player, any coach in any sport will tell you is if you have a great, and I mean if you have a great game plan, the other team does not dictate your game plan. It may dictate, some of the plays that you put in, some of the plays that you don't use, some of the personnel, but it should not dictate your game plan. It may alter it, but it shouldn't dictate it. And the issue that I have, the issue that I continue to have with the Baltimore Ravens is it feels like the opponent in some instances dictates the game plan. Let's talk about some things that we know, right? We know that the Baltimore Ravens, by far, is the best team in football at running. With Lamar Jackson, with Derrick Henry, with Justice Hill, they are the best running team by a mile. That is actually one of their superpowers. That's one thing that they can look at and they can continue to beat people with is their run game. While I understand that this is a passing league, you have a team in the Baltimore Ravens that have mastered how to run the ball. Yet and still, this is the third time. In fact, there's a stat, I'm sure most people have heard it, but there's a stat going around that the games that Derrick Henry has rushed less than 20 times, the Baltimore Ravens are 0-3. The Kansas City Chiefs game, I think Raiders game, and the Pittsburgh Steelers game. And what baffles me is when you go up against a Pittsburgh Steelers team, you want to dominate the ground game. While yes, I understand the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is incredible, but as we saw, there were openings, there were times where the Baltimore Ravens could have taken advantage of the run game. They just abandoned it. But to win a game against a Super Bowl hopeful and not score a touchdown is the pure definition of an AFC North game. Shouts out to Chris Boswell. He was for sure the MVP of this game. But I can't help to feel like the issues that have plagued this Baltimore Ravens team all year continues to happen outside of one caveat. Maybe it was the defense. Maybe it was the lack of explosiveness that the Pittsburgh Steelers had on Sunday. But the Baltimore Ravens probably played their best defensive game of the year against the Pittsburgh Steelers. To hold this team without a touchdown, to hold George Pickens to only 89 yards receiving, that with the moon ball, it was incredible. But on the same thing, one thing that we know is the margins are small. The margins are thin when we talk about an AFC North game, when we talk about any football game. So when you're the most penalized team in football, and then you have 12 more penalties on the day, when Derrick Henry fumbles the ball, which he hasn't done in over 500 snaps, I think, when Isaiah Likely fumbles the ball, and when Justin Tucker, the NFL's greatest kicker in NFL history, when he misses 2 kicks, 2 field goals, and you lose by 2. I can't help but look at this and say, I think the biggest hurdle blocking the Ravens from being a legit Super Bowl caliber team is the Ravens. Because while you can always say, well, this is just one game basis, this continues to happen. Well, no, not all the stuff, but it's always something. Whether it's the defense just playing horrendous and dropping every single interception opportunity you have against Jameis Winston and the Browns. Mind you, that's the last time the Browns have won a game. Whether it's Isaiah Likely's big toe with the 2-point conversion the first play or first game against the Chiefs, or it's just the dud that you lay against the Raiders. It just feels like a lot of these issues are self-inflicted. While as much as you want, or as much as some people want Lamar Jackson to at least win a Super Bowl, Lamar Jackson is one of the greatest quarterbacks against the NFC. I think he's only lost once. So by that math, all you got to do is make the Super Bowl and you have a great shot. It just doesn't, from last year when you just abandoned the run yet again, when you were by far the best run team, to me, I think Justin Tucker has missed 7 kicks this year, 6 or 7. In this week 11, week 11. I think that at their best, when they're playing their best football, there's maybe a handful of teams that's better than the Baltimore Ravens. I still think Lamar Jackson deserves to be the front runner for the MVP. I still think that this is a good team. But I also acknowledge the fact that, and even Lamar Jackson acknowledged it, this team continues to get in their own way. And the fear is they get in their own way at the worst moments. Because now, instead of fighting for the top of the division in the AFC North, you're now fighting to hold on to a wild card spot, making these next few games, especially these next two, monumental. They go up against the Chargers next week, essentially this week, and then you have the Eagles, and then I think you have the Giants, or maybe a bye week. I don't know. So these next two games will really tell you a lot about this Ravens team. You're really going to know if they are the Super Bowl caliber team you think they are, because you're about to go against two teams that at least one of them you could for sure see in the Super Bowl. And you're playing them at the crib. So we're really about to see, but maybe we have seen the real Baltimore Ravens. I don't know. And for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm starting to believe that it's a testament to finding ways to win. It's a testament to the fact that it's very rare, especially in the NFL, that a team wins and a team gets 18 points solely off of kicks. The fact that you can win against an AFC North divisional rival, one of the best rivalries in football, you can win without scoring a touchdown is saying something. This defense, Mike Tomlin, who I think should be coach of the year, it's been a great season. I still question how good they can be against, because again, what happens if Justin Tucker doesn't miss two kicks? Then you lose. What happens if a usually reliable running back in Derrick Henry doesn't fumble the ball? What happens if Patrick Queen doesn't strip the ball out of Isaiah Likely's hands in your territory? Like as soon as you get the ball, you're in the red zone. Like, what happens if that does? What happens if the Baltimore Ravens don't run the dumbest? No, I'm not going to say the dumbest. If they have the worst failed 2-point conversion I've ever seen, what happens if that doesn't happen? I know these are all what ifs and it didn't happen, but what I'm saying is the Pittsburgh Steelers played well enough to win. They also played bad enough to lose. It's just the other team didn't take advantage. And while I still trust that defense, I think that they have one of the best defenses in football. I would put that defense up against anyone. I still think that obviously there have been more people to throw their name in the ring, but I still think that TJ Watt could and should probably be the defensive player of the year. But what happens if the Ravens don't beat themselves? And what happens when you go up against a team that doesn't get in their way, and and the offense and the defense may not have it? Is the offense going to be able to pick them up? While they've done it against someone like the Giants, someone like the Jets, we look at where those teams sit right now, But I'm not here to poo-poo on the win. Congratulations to the Pittsburgh Steelers for beating the Baltimore Ravens 18-16. Oh, man, you stayed to the end of the video. I appreciate you. If you like what you saw, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss any content from your boy. You can also go back and watch past episodes, past clips, and don't forget that the Unpopular Podcast, new episodes drop every Wednesday and Saturday. Appreciate you.